Hi, Internet. I'm going to try this again. I've had this list of notes sitting in front of me for, wow, a couple weeks now. That these are the things I should talk about in the next of these little episodes. And I've tried it a couple times and I've screwed something up technically because, oh my god, I suck at making videos. One of these days, someone will wander into my life and go, oh my god, I love to make videos, and I love to record things, and you should sing all of those songs that you've written and say things on video. But in the meantime, y'all get me in all of my rather hilarious technical incompetency because I'm rather brilliant with a terminal or, hacking an operating system or troubleshooting a network or something, but no, try and have me make a video and it's just badly hilarious. Anyway, the other reason that I am here at the moment, I guess, is that I've had an unbelievably terrible day, couple days. And I've had these notes in front of me for, hey, this is brilliant, semi-enlightened, helpful stuff that you should talk about with the whole world, because this is one of the things that you've decided to do. And out of all days, I was not going to do it today. But then today got late, and I realized that maybe the fact that it's been such a really hard couple days for me is in fact a great reason to be talking about this stuff, because right now I need it to. I've had lots of good days over the last couple weeks, but I would use the word like, but I would like to remind everyone that in some cases, including mine, depression is a chronic illness, and it comes back. No matter how much you just want it to not come back, some days it comes back. And today I've had one of the days where it's just all over my face, and I canceled all of the things that I wanted to do this evening, because everyone I saw today was like, holy shit, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, things I don't want to talk about. Anyway, this is not about that, because I will leave that incredibly unpleasant crap for psychologists to talk about in their spare time. I have better things to talk about, so let's talk about the better things. First, let's get to looking better, because wow, that was not an improvement. Doing this not flashing the camera. Okay. So here are the good things that I need to hear just as much as everyone else today. What I have here is 3 really awesome, like, just practical, physical things that can be done that help flip you into 3D. And I know that I perpetually owe more explanation on what 3D thinking is, but I do want to say that it is continuing in the course of my continuing to try and do it, to be one of the most just, it's not even helpful, it is an entirely new mental paradigm. It is everything, and if I spend the rest of my life studying it and learning how to do it and how to talk about it, and assuming I get good at the first 2, how to teach it, then that will not at all be a wasted life, in my opinion. I think that the collective we, including the people that are all involved in considering this sort of thing, are really onto something with this. And in the course of my trying it and studying it and working on it, which I have been doing, and it has been going well, I guess I need to do a little bit of backing up because of the content of this post and say that it is not that my, recurrent bouts of depression are not a failure of this. In fact, if anything, they're a success of this. I have been dealing with this my entire life since I was a teeny little kid, and it is so much better in the last couple years, really, since I started thinking about how to be deliberate about my mental method, as opposed, I'm not talking about my mental content, I'm talking about, not just what I'm looking at, but how I clean the windows. That has been huge, and I have no way to give you a frame of reference, nor any desire to give you a frame of reference, but trust me, I am in so much better shape than I was ever at all. Anyway, so here are the 3 things that have built up in sticky notes on my desk that I really need to get out there, and I will talk about more of them. I will talk about them in greater length, I'm sure, regardless, but if any of them raise immediate questions for anyone, please let me know. I do get comments that are dropped on YouTube occasionally, but my blog is a better place to do it. It's at puredoxic.com right now, but I'm working on a new domain name, just because I think I need an update, something more fun, snappier. Anyway, here we go. Thing number 1, listening to silence. So we've talked about 3D thinking as being as being the difference between a line drawn this way that goes from here to a line stabbing out this way that exists like in one moment. If you think about this as past, future, one moment kind of rolling along like that, and you're seeing it as flat. I think I've mentioned, if you haven't read Flatland, it's a great thing for people attempting to do practical philosophy to read. Simply because it's such a good narrative description of what switching dimensions is like. And that may be a mathematical thing, but when you're trying to do it psychologically, it helps to have that. What we usually do when we are hearing is we ignore silence and we pick out sound. Just like what we do when we are seeing is we ignore space and we pick out things. I won't get too much into that, but there's another practical thing there. With regards to hearing, though, it's such an automatic process for us to hear sounds and ignore silence. By switching that, you are doing the equivalent of changing between seeing the lady in the vase in the famous optical illusion, and you're doing it in such a way that it really helps encourage your brain to switch from the normal way of seeing the world, which is to see things with your psychology, with the terminate and stay resonant programs in your head as the content, writing from past to future, and all of this head content is the thing that you're seeing. Switching that to seeing the moment, to seeing the present as being the real thing, and your thoughts as being the background canvas. What you're doing when you're listening to silence is a very similar, if not identical, form of switching. And I'm back on you. I didn't realize that my other monitor was serving as such useful background lighting. And then it faded. I was like, hey. Anyway, this is by switching to listening to silence. By telling your brain, I am going to hear the silence and let the sounds fade to background. You will, and the first couple times you succeed in doing it, it's really usually very noticeable. I have little sticky notes up around my life now to try and remind me to do it, because it is such a good way to make my brain slide into the right thing. Excuse me. Apparently I have pressure issues at the moment. But there's, so that's thing number 1. Thing number 2, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but it's really helpful to remember it when you are, especially when you're having a hard time. Gee, you know what? I was right when I said that this was a good time for me to be going over these. Because I'm reminding myself. Another thing that's very helpful is to let yourself feel without opinion, just like you would let water flow. Just like you would let, if you were sitting in a bathtub or swimming in a lake or something and feeling the water flowing around you, to let your emotions move around in your body the way they would is counterintuitive, because, at least from my experience, because your tendency when there's a strong emotion in your body is to clamp down on it. Hold it, like, keep it from... Things moving around in your viscera is not something that we necessarily think of as pleasant or okay, and we do have a bit of a survival reaction to try and hold it still and quarantine it and cage it off and shove it down and keep it where it feels safe. I have found, not today because I obviously need this more today, but I have found that just getting some of the musculature that you normally hold tight to relax, letting air move, like very freely, like I do this. Obviously, I'm a breath hold artist now, but this is really like breathing all the way down into your limbs, shaking it all the way out of your hands, and letting the physical sensation of the emotions that get in your chest and stomach and neck and everywhere else that you get them stuck, letting them move. In order to do that, you have to stop having opinions about them. You have to stop saying, oh my God, that sucks. Oh my God, that's awful. Holy shit, I'm a terrible person. Jesus, what is wrong with me? All of the stuff that goes along with that, and believe me, I could write encyclopedias. You have to stop doing it in order to just let it move. If you have to think about it in terms of a physical thing. This might be easier for me because of martial arts, but it's, if I can say, there's a thing, and look, now it's going down into my stomach, and now it's coming out into my neck, and now it's going, oh look, it can make it to the fingers. Like, if you cannot have an opinion about it long enough to let it move freely around your body, guess what happens? It disperses a bit, just like when water can move freely. Whatever's floating in it tends to spread out and disperse, and becomes a lot less frightening that the other guys might be peeing in the pool when you think about the fact that there's a couple 100 gallons of water for everything to disperse into. Similarly, whatever poison your brain is creating for you is a lot less toxic when it gets spread around. So that's thing number 2. Thing number 3 is convince yourself, and that's the action verb in this sentence. Convince yourself that accepting is a good thing. Convince yourself that it is a positive, useful thing to accept the current reality. Not all of everything. You don't have to accept the Syrian conflict. You don't have to accept, the fact that you're single. You don't have to accept that someone in your family is a shithead. You just have to accept right now. And by have to, I mean you should convince yourself that you have to. Convince yourself is the sentence here. And the reason that that is the sentence is because acceptance is such an incredibly powerful tool to shut off unnecessary programming, which is, in my experience, almost entirely based on resistance of whatever you're dealing with right now, or focusing on things that are not right now and resisting them. Having it as something that you fall back to accept right now. Just go, no, whatever, this right here, this is reality, it is bigger than I am, it is supposed to be this way, I am not physics, it is not my job to make the air not be here and me not be here, like, here I am, this is it, reality. But you can't fall back on that if it's not a principle for you. If you have not accepted that, I'm not going to use the word accept twice, if you have not been convinced that acceptance is a positive thing, is a principle you should live by, it is, if you are not in your guts convinced that you should be accepting of the moment's reality, then when shit hits the fan and you turn to it, you are immediately going to be swamped by doubt and feelings that, well, I should be fighting this, it's not okay, I need to do something, and all of these thoughts that will basically completely castrate your ability to actually accept anything. And therefore, it is worth your time, when things are not bad especially, to sit down with a whiteboard, a calculator, a hammer, whatever it takes for you to personally believe something, and convince yourself that acceptance makes sense. As a semi-formally trained logician, I believe that acceptance makes sense. It is not a belief that I formed once when I was in school and then never revisited. It is something I put on a whiteboard and jot in a journal and tear my hair out over regularly. And the reason I do that is because that's what's required for me to be convinced. I cannot be convinced by one argument that isn't revisited. I bet you're glad that you don't hang out with me regularly now, huh? I have to be routinely reconvinced. I have to know that I can bring to bear whatever my latest thoughts are, and go, wait, what about this? And that argument can answer for that. And because of that, acceptance is one of the things that I go back over fairly regularly and say, what about this? Can I still be convinced that acceptance is a necessary thing? So far, acceptance has won. All of the times that I have had that argument with myself, I have convinced myself that acceptance is a positive thing, and that it is the best method to pursue in order to be healthy. If you want to not be wasting all of your power on things that you can't affect, if you want to be calm when you should be calm, and balanced when you can be balanced, and independent without being cold or cut off or screwed up, acceptance of this moment and this reality is really one of the key ingredients, in my current opinion. But I would not be able to make use of that and have it be a positive and useful thing for me if it weren't for it being my current opinion. So thing number 3 is convince yourself to accept reality. Convince yourself that not fighting what already is the most sensible way to interact with the world. And that way you can pull that out later when you need it. If you end up convincing yourself that, in fact, resistance makes more sense, well, rock on it. You know, you're living by your principles, and that's great. But have something there. I think you'll probably come to acceptance, but regardless, have something there. Have that argument. Go back and do it, and so that you can go back to it when you need something to lean on and say, blah. Anyway, all right, I'm going to cut it. I went 2 minutes over what I wanted to, but I think I kind of always go about 2 minutes over. Anyway, this was quite helpful for me. Thank you, everyone, and I think that there's probably not going to be a technical problem this time, so that's nice. And I will come back with more later. Thanks.